One of the things that I like to do is I like to look for video game collections. I don't like to just buy one disc with one game. I mean, I will, don't get me wrong, but I like to find a collection of games, like something like, we'll just say Super Mario All-Stars collection. So you get Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. It's a good collection of games. 3 games for the price of 1, can't beat it. So today we're gonna look at 10 games. 10 games that I think are great for any collector to have in their collection because they add a bunch of different games to your collection for the price of 1. There's some really awesome ones on here. We're gonna kick things off on the Game Boy Advance, one of my favorite collections, which gets you one of the most expensive NES games at a pretty reasonable price. This is Capcom Classics Mini Mix.
When it comes to the Game Boy Advance, there were actually quite a few collections released on it, and they were all of varying degrees of quality. The one that was going to be on this list before I decided to settle on the Capcom Classics Mini Mix was the Pac-Man collection, because that's a great collection of games. But with Capcom Classics Mini Mix, you get something that was very key to it being included. So first off, you get Bionic Commando. Everyone knows Bionic Commando. It's a great game. Strider as well, which is one of my personal favorites, although I can understand why people don't enjoy that one as much. But the reason you come to the party is Mighty Final Fight, because if you want to buy that for a US release on the NES, you're going to be mortgaging something, or you're going to be selling a kidney or something like that. But with Capcom Classics Mini Mix, it's not expensive, and it plays incredibly well on the GBA. This is a fantastic collection of NES games that I think are well worth having on the Game Boy Advance, and it's really cool to be able to take them portably with you because they all play fantastically well on that little system. It was something that I was really excited about, and something I was hoping we were going to see more collections from Capcom on. And maybe we didn't see them on the GBA, but it sure did set the stage for what Capcom would be doing with collections in the future.
Love that one. I love Strider, so being able to have Strider portable was a great thing for me, but being introduced to Mighty Final Fight, oh man, that was amazing. Absolutely loved that title, was really stoked to be able to play it, and it's just so much fun. And you know, hey, Bionic Commando, can't go wrong with that either. Next up, going over to the Wii U, I love the SteamWorld franchise, and to get SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Heist on one disc was a huge get.
The SteamWorld collection on Wii U is one of my personal favorites because I'm a big fan of stuff from Image and Form, or Thunderful now. I really do like the stuff that they make, and the SteamWorld games for me, my introduction to the franchise was with the original SteamWorld Dig, which is on this collection. Playing as Rusty, you are there to kind of dig through the ground and solve the mystery of your uncle's death, or well, maybe not the mystery, but kind of continue the work of your uncle after he passed away. And with SteamWorld Heist, which is my personal favorite, it's a fantastic tactical strategy game that's told in a 2D plane, kind of like a side-scrolling platformer. It's really, really interesting. The thing that made SteamWorld Heist work so well for me, that made me really, really love it, were the characters, though, because while the gameplay is spectacular and there's some really clever stuff going on, and some really neat physics things as well, where you actually are able to like ricochet bullets off of walls to shoot bad guys and things like that, the thing that got me were the characters, because the characters on your crew were incredibly memorable, the characters that you were fighting against are memorable, the writing was fantastic, and the gameplay just made all of it come together into a perfect, cohesive unit. One of the best collections ever released, and something that I hope one day we get a full The World of SteamWorld collection released, because I think that would be absolutely incredible.
That was a collection I owned for a long time that I unfortunately got rid of at one point, and luckily my friend Kyle from Hilltop Retro had it in stock at his store and I was able to pick it back up. It is such a marvelous game, such a marvelous collection. Heist is my favorite of the SteamWorld series, but you can't go wrong with either Heist or Dig. They're both brilliant. Next, over to the Nintendo Switch, and we are looking at what I think has been the company most responsible for kind of a revitalization of collections recently. That's Capcom. There's tons of Capcom collections you can choose from, but the one I want to talk about today is Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
And yeah, while we talked about the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle earlier, I want to talk now about what Capcom is doing currently, because they've kind of made it their bread and butter to release collections, especially on modern consoles like the Nintendo Switch. And while I could have talked about the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle or the Arcade Stadium collections, I want to talk today about Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which has some of the best fighting games on it. And this is the one I wanted when the original Fighting Collection released. Because this game includes Capcom vs. SNK, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bill Stein, Project Justice, Power Stone, and Power Stone 2. Now, the last 4 there are the ones that I want to call special attention to, because The Power Stone games are some of the greatest arcade fighters of all time, and I was thrilled to get them in a collection. Project Justice is one of my all-time favorites, and Nightmare of Bilstein, or Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein, is a wildly underrated Dreamcast fighter. This is the arcade version, and it's just perfect. It's just a great collection of games. You get a nice mix of 3D fighters and 2D fighters, and they all play incredibly well. I hope Capcom continues to release collections like this on the Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2 moving forward, because they're just awesome collections to have. Just a great series of classic games.
Yeah, I mean, Power Stone 2, and Project Justice on one cartridge, can't beat that for me. It's such a great collection of fighting games, and just so much fun to play. Like, it's so great to go back to those games, even though I am like atrophied muscle memory on how those games play. It's still amazing. It's still so much fun. Next up, over to the Xbox 360, and I wish I had the slipcase for it, so you'll just have to trust me as to what this is. This is the Mass Effect Trilogy.
I realize now that I probably should have gone with the Mass Effect Legendary Collection on the Series X, because that was all on one disc, and the Trilogy Collection here is not. It's on 5 separate discs, so that kind of does defeat the whole purpose of this being a buy a single disc, get a bunch of games video, but I can't deny how incredible the Mass Effect Trilogy Collection is, because these are 3 of the best sci-fi RPGs ever made, and this is truly when BioWare was at their absolute strongest. It's a wonderful collection of games, and I apologize for beating Mass Effect 1 in this footage if you haven't played it and defeated it yourself, because I didn't realize that's where my save was. I haven't played Mass Effect 1 in years, and I just hopped in. I was like, oh, we're at the end. Okay, well, let's just go. So my apologies for that. I usually like to show footage from like the first couple minutes of the game, not the last fight. Again, I'm sorry. But I love this game, I love this series, and it's something that's really clever because you're able to carry your version of Shepard forward in other Mass Effect games. So it's a perfect collection to have, and a perfect way to just show how strong of a developer BioWare was and how amazing the games of Mass Effect were and that franchise was as a whole.
A little bit different of a collection on that one, I will grant you, since it is 3 separate games on 5 separate discs. It's not just all things crammed onto one. Could have gone with the Mass Effect Legendary Collection on the Series X, but there's just something about that slipcase that really makes it sing to me. Going over now to the Xbox One with a collection of 2 of the most important Batman video games ever. This is Batman Return to Arkham.
The footage is being shown here from Arkham City, but the Batman Return to Arkham collection on the Xbox One is magnificent. So the Batman Arkham Asylum games were kind of left behind on the Xbox 360 PS3 generation, and when Arkham Knight dropped, we had this remaster reissued using the latest Unreal technology. And I am so happy that it exists because it made the games, updated them to a certain degree. Not to the point where they're all of a sudden like these crazy remasters or anything like that. They just looked nicer and they played a little bit more smoothly. And if you've never played these games, they are well worth picking up because they offer a really interesting look into the Batman mythos and kind of a grown-up take on what the Batman animated series would have been if it was developed for a mature audience, I think. Because a lot of the actors that appear in this game are from the animated series. A lot of the characters are familiar to fans of the animated series. And it feels like an epic version of the animated series, just told from an adult perspective. Some of the best combat in video games, some of the best storytelling and dialogue writing and acting that I've ever seen in a video game. And it's truly just a masterpiece of a collection that kicked off a fantastic trilogy of the Arkham universe with Asylum, City, and Night. It's a great collection to have and something that's well worth playing, and it's dirt cheap nowadays. So well worth adding to an Xbox One collection.
I love the Arkham franchise. Origins is my favorite, but Origins is kind of the redheaded stepchild of that franchise. So being able to get Asylum and City on one collection, especially right after Arkham Knight had dropped, was really cool. The rebuild on those and the look of them are fantastic. They're amazing games, and they still play incredibly well to this day. Over now to the PlayStation 4 and a game from Ubisoft featuring everyone's favorite assassin, Ezio de Auditore. This is Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection.
I'm a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series, and my love of it started with the first one, but the first one felt like a tech demo to me. It didn't really feel like a fully realized concept until Assassin's Creed 2 and the dawning of Ezio. Ezio is one of the greatest protagonists in video game history, an absolutely fantastic character that's deeply flawed, but works towards redemption and tries to do the right thing. And the collection here, Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection, gets you Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelation, and it is a wonderful collection of games. They all play incredibly well. The visual upgrades are not as apparent in something like this. Keep in mind, these are much older titles trying to bring them into a modern audience, so there's a little bit of disconnect there, but the gameplay is solid, the storylines are wonderful, and having 3 of the greatest games of all time put together so you can play Ezio's entire life as an assassin is pretty damn remarkable, and just a fantastic series of games to have in one set.
AC2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, 3 of the best, if not the 3 best, Assassin's Creed classic games out there. Just love those games, and really, really excited that Ubisoft put together a collection of just the Ezio titles. Back to the Xbox 360 now, and you can't go wrong with a Sega Genesis collection. There have been numerous ones over the years, but want to talk now about Sonic's Sega Genesis Classics collection. This is really awesome.
As a big fan of the Sega Genesis, it is my all-time favorite 16-bit console. Anytime I can find one that gives me a massive collection of games for the Genesis, that's a good thing. And Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, that is the actual title, despite whatever I butchered in the intro, is one of the greatest collections of video games of all time. There are 49 games on this list, so let's just run through and I'll tell you all of the games that are on here. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, Beyond Oasis, Bonanza Brothers, Columns, Comic Zone, Decap Attack, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is like one of the greatest video game titles of all time. Just so much fun to say. Dynamite Headdy, Echo the Dolphin, Echo, Tides of Time, eSWAT, City Under Siege, Fatal Labyrinth, Flicky, Gain Ground, one of my personal favorites, Golden Axe 2, Golden Axe 3, Kid Chameleon, Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star 3, Phantasy Star 4. Fantastic selection of all 3 Phantasy Star games released on the Genesis. Super awesome to have it all in one spot. Rise Star, Shining Force 2, Shining in the Darkness, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic Spinball, Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, Super Thunderblade, Vector Man 1 and 2. Those are just the games that are on the base disc. You also have access to Alien Syndrome from the arcade, Altered Beast from the arcade, Congo Bongo from the arcade, Fantasy Zone from the arcade, Golden Axe Warrior from the Master System, the original Phantasy Star from the Master System, so you have the entire Phantasy Star series on this disc, Shinobi Arcade, Space Harrier Arcade, and Zaxxon Arcade. It's incredible. It's well worth it. Pick it up.
What a fantastic collection. Just love that Sega is so willing to put out incredible collections like that, and they all play incredibly well. I love the one on the Switch as well. I don't have it physically, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to show that one, but the one on the 360 is still pretty great. Back to the PS4 now, and this features a collection of 3 of my favorite games featuring my favorite character from video games that isn't Mega Man, Nathan Drake. This is Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection.
So my exposure to the Uncharted franchise and to Nathan Drake as a character is a little bit different. I had never had a PlayStation 3, so I never played any of the Uncharted games. I was aware of them, but to me they just kind of seemed like Indiana Jones knockoffs, and I wasn't really concerned about ever playing them. But eventually my buddy Brian and my friend Nate told me how good they were and that I should try them out. So when Uncharted 4 released, I decided to play that, and that was my first exposure to the character. And kind of falling in love with that kind of universe of Nathan Drake and his adventures, I picked up the Nathan Drake collection after that to play through Uncharted's 1, 2, and 3. And I'm so happy I did, because it's given me one of my most beloved video game franchises. And this collection on the PlayStation 4 is well worth picking up, and it's incredibly affordable. And in fact, the collection on the PlayStation 5 that gives you Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy is also a great collection to have. And you can have the entire franchise on 2 discs. It's wonderful. These games are magical. They're globe-trotting adventures, just amazing experiences from top to bottom with some stunning vistas, wonderful writing, and just great characters from top to bottom. If you've never played them, you need to.
Remastered PS3 games. Can't go wrong with that. Absolutely love it. What a marvelous collection. To be able to play all 4 all 5 if you count Lost Legacy. Uncharted games on the PlayStation 4 was huge, and I do count Lost Legacy. Lost Legacy is magnificent, but to be able to play them all on the PlayStation 4 was amazing, and they all look great and they all play incredibly well. And in a lot of cases, that was my first exposure to the Uncharted series, because I had never played any of them until 4, so picking that one up after the fact and being able to play through them after I played through 4 was pretty special. Over to the Nintendo Wii now, and there were 2 collections on the Wii that I was kind of bobbing in between. And one of them was going to be the SNK Arcade Collection, but at the end of the day, I really think that this one here, the Metal Slug Anthology, is the better of the 2.
I love Metal Slug, despite the fact that I'm terrible at the game. So when I saw that there was an actual release of all of the Metal Slug games at the time on the Nintendo Wii, I had to pick it up. And then I promptly forgot about it and never saw it again until I was in Seattle in 2021. And I found this at another castle, and it was like a flashback to remembering that this game existed. And I picked it up, and I have had zero regrets doing so. So with the Metal Slug Anthology, you get 7 different Metal Slug titles. You get the original Metal Slug from 1996, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug X, Metal Slug 3, Metal Slug 4, Metal Slug 5, and Metal Slug 6. The Metal Slugs 1 through 5 and X are the home console versions. They run on the Neo Geo AES emulation, and 6 is a ported version of the arcade game, and all of them are amazing. They are such a fantastic collection to have, and the nice thing about this is there's actually some really cool extra features on the disc as well. There's an art gallery with concept art, some wallpapers, a sound gallery, different options you can set up, and a readable interview with the game designers and the programmers of Metal Slug. It's fantastic. I absolutely love this one. It is if you're a fan of classic arcade action, this is a must own, and you can pick it up in several places. It was originally on the Wii, but you can also get it on the PSP and the PlayStation 2 and the PC. So check it out if you're at all curious.
7 Metal Slug games in one stop. You can't go wrong with that. Endless continues, just so much fun to play. They're just such amazing arcade titles and so much fun to play, and just awesome single player and multiplayer too. Just brilliant games. The last game I want to give is what I think is probably the greatest compilation ever released, because this is such a love letter to classic games from the 8-bit generation all the way up through 64 bits. This is such a marvelous collection of games, actually all the way up through the Xbox 360. So many incredible titles on this disc, so many incredible games released, and just one of the best and slickest presentations I've ever seen. This is Rare Replay.
I think one of the greatest tragedies in modern gaming is that Rare, who was purchased by Microsoft, has been shuttered off to just develop Sea of Thieves stuff. And that hurts, because when you look at the games that were offered on Rare Replay and their entire back catalog of incredible titles, it sucks that they're left just kind of toiling away on Sea of Thieves. And I know a lot of people love Sea of Thieves, and I don't want to take away from that, but there's so much more that they could do and so much IP that they own that is just left kind of withering on the vine, and it sucks. Rare Replay is a celebration of everything Rare. Just listen to this lineup. So from the ZX Spectrum, you get Jetpack, Lunar Jetman, Attic Attack, Saber Wolf, Underworld, Night Lore, and Gunfight. That's just from the ZX Spectrum. And then you move into the stuff that's a little bit more, I guess, considered modern, or at least a little more well-known here in the West. So Slalom from the NES, RC Pro-Am, Cobra Triangle, Snake Rattle and Roll, Solar Jetman, Digger T-Rock, Battletoads, RC Pro-Am 2, the arcade version of Battletoads, Killer Instinct Gold, Blast Core, Banjo-Kazooie, Jet Force Gemini, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Grabbed by the Ghoulies from the original Xbox, Cameo Elements of Power, Perfect Dark Zero, Viva Pinata, Jetpack Refueled, which is an unbelievable version of Jetpack, Viva Pinata Troubles in Paradise, and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. It's a wonderful collection of fantastic games from Rare, and just a must-own for anyone that has an Xbox One or an Xbox Series.
That right there is the reason I say I wish we still had Rare being allowed to make the games that Rare was known for. Them being stuck in Sea of Thieves purgatory really sucks, because there's so much incredible intellectual property that Rare owns, that Rare created, that I would love to see more of, and we're just never going to see it until Sea of Thieves wraps up. So We'll make do with what we have, and hey, right there, 30 fantastic rare games, can't go wrong. And it's like $5. It's so dirt cheap. It's so worth picking up. If you have a GameStop near you, be sure to look for that one. Those are just 10 of my favorite collections, though. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your favorites are. Like, there's 100 of them on the Nintendo Switch I could think of. Well, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. There's 10 of them on the Switch I could think of off the top of my head. I could have just done that, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit, show stuff from a bunch of different consoles. But do let me know in the comments down below what your favorite collection is. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. If you dug this video, give it a thumbs up. Engagement helps the channel out. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you stick around. We're well on our way to 20,000 subscribers. Love to be there by my birthday. Don't think that's going to happen, but hey, stranger things. Until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and I'll talk to you soon.